We're at Autopolis for the start of the race. The number 18 Takata Dome starting on pole for the very first time this season. It's all very open, with just a couple of rounds left to go in the championship, and anyone can become champion. There's the Takata Dome, number 18, starting on pole. The first time this season. And the Takata Dome gets off to a decent enough start. But without wanting to give away too many secrets, the leader would get into a little bit of trouble later on, which we'll be able to follow with our live commentators. For the moment, all is green in the garden of the Takata Dome. But that is all about to change. And you'll see how the events unfold rather dramatically on your screen as we rejoin our Super GT racing experts to take you through this one.
Yeah, a big jump by him then. Well, just to remind you about this circuit, we have been here before, 4.7 kilometres, 12 turns, and probably the most variations in elevation of any circuit they race on. Actually built inside a volcano here on the southern island of Kyushu. Cost of $500 million in the late 1980s. Went bust, and look at that. Ralph Furman takes the lead going downhill.
He really was wound up to do that, and the Takata Honda, the number 18 car, really is struggling. Set off very well from pole position, but struggling. There's a big accident there, car 101. That's in the GT 300 category, and he's had a very, very big off. That's a long way from the circuit. You can see that's extensively damaged there.
That's Mario Nitta in the Toy Story Toyota MRS. Hope we'll see it again in the replay, but as you say, GT 300 already compromised there. That car, in fact, was starting from fourth fastest on their grid, and that coming together, I think, was the car that's on the front row alongside him, Kurosawa, and the Ebro VMAC. Anyway, back at the front, big fight here. The 23 car now, there's Navinismo. Sugo Matsuda has come through into second place. Look at that, and there's the very big car, the Takata NSX, and the Zent Toyota Lexus behind that. But a big fight going on here. I don't know what Mishigami's problem was. Maybe tyres at this early on. Of course, they have to use the same tyres at the start of the race they used in qualifying. Qualifying was pretty hot.
Yes, very warm indeed, but the guys really did get down to it. The top 10 having their shootout as normal. And Takata Dome, as we've seen starting on pole, started off there with the other NSX second, with the Arto NSX with Ralph Furman on board. And the Ray Brig car, number 100, was in third place. And that was the accident there we've seen that sent off that number 101 car, the little Toyota.
Yeah, it was the VMAC just tapped him, and that was it. He was a passenger once he'd turned that car around. There he is. He's walking away from it. Mario Nitta, happily quite unhurt, more concerned about his car as they normally are. But I wonder if they're going to get a penalty for the for that VMAC. It was a bit of a shove there.
It was, and you know, when the speed these guys are going, you can see just how quickly they are around the corners. If you decide to leave the circuit doing that sort of speed, then yes, it's going to hurt a lot. You're going to hit something fairly hard, and unfortunately that's what happened to that little Toyota. It hit the barrier, ran alongside, and it was a long way off the circuit before it stopped. But the marshals doing an ever good job of managed to get it hooked up onto a recovery vehicle and get it towed to a place of safety out of the way, making sure that nobody else can come across and catch them again with it.
So Ralph Furman, Norfolk and Tokyo's finest, now way out front here. This is the race, as we said, he won last year together with the guy he's showing of today, Daisuke Ito. Of course, they have won this year. They won in Sepang earlier this season. And the man who started from pole, Ryo Mishigami, he's been pushed back a bit. What's his second pole of 2006 after starting off that position in Okayama? But it's very, very tight at this end of the season, and the weights are absolutely huge for some cars. Richard Lyons and Mikhail Krum are carrying 90 kilos. I mean, that's a passenger on board, David.
And it's a very large passenger in actual fact. You know, most people weigh less than 90 kilos, so therefore that's quite a lump of weight that they're having to carry with them on the car, and it certainly does slow you down. I know from driving experience, put a passenger inside your car, all of a sudden you can certainly feel the difference, and that's what they've got bolted into their car. And it's in the passenger seat as well, because that's where you have to have the lump of lead. It all goes in a set place, so it's the same for absolutely everyone. And when you're carrying that much extra, it makes life that much more difficult, both for stopping, because you try and stop that mass as well, and then when you want to accelerate, especially if you want to accelerate up a hill, because this circuit here at Autopolis is not flat at all. It does have quite a lot of gradient in it, and you know, if you want to accelerate up a hill, pulling that extra weight really does slow you down. So when you're carrying 90 kilos extra as the number 22 Motul Z is, then I have to say you're going to find quite difficult.
So too is the open interface Lexus of Andre Lotterer. That's got 90 on board as well, and there's 2 cars on 80. Toru Takagi in the Zensuruma, who won at Sugo, and also Sebastian Philippe, the Frenchman in the Raybrigg Honda, who won at Motegi last time out in round 7. There we are. There's the top 6 at the moment. Zensuruma Lexus completing the top 6. Great circuit though. They had the final of the 1991 World Sports Car Championship here. That's won by Michael Schumacher. There's a name that everyone is going to be missing now. And Carl Wendlinger from Mercedes. And they beat the Jaguar XJR14 of Derek Warwick and Teo Fabi. And that was the year Teo Fabi, of course, took the title. And the years you were racing a Jaguar as well, David.
Yes, one of my goals with the Jaguar that I had many years ago. But these cars just very, very quick indeed. We were having a discussion a little while ago about just how fast these cars are, and certainly faster than most of the or all of the GT cars that are racing throughout the world just now. The Japanese Super GT series have allowed them to do quite a lot of work to their cars to get them not only competitive with each other, but very, very quick indeed.
So GT300 at the moment, led by Rocky Koto, well known to British racegoers, of course, from his Formula 3 days here and from his IndyCar racing. It's the Privé Zurich Scheiden being the Japanese for Violet Lightning. The car's got a Toyota 4.2 litre V8 in it, and only came out this year, the car. It's just been making steady progress all season. This is its first pole position. What a good job they're doing, heading the Wed Sports Celica at the moment. And right behind them also the Ford GT is well up in the field. That's the car we saw leading last time out at Motegi. So there's the Scheiden then. Absolutely beautiful shape. Looks as much as anything like a Group C car or a Grand Am Daytona prototype. But anyway, still the Arta NSX, Ralph Furman out front here at Autopolis, and the Michigami car, the Green Dome NSX, it's gone back to 4th place now. As you can see, that's been passed by another of the Hondas, the Raybrigg NSX, and that Raybrigg car started by Sebastian Philippe, the man we just mentioned, winner last time out at Motegi, and he's got 80 kilos on board, David, so he's doing a great job.
He's doing a very good job carrying that much weight out there, and he's certainly making a big difference to it.
There's the Mobile Lexus in 7th place. That's the number 6 car of Akira Aida. He started that car from 8th on the grid, so he's one of those who's made a place up already in this race. 65 laps ahead, 300 kilometres around this circuit, and as you say, very heavy on fuel, heavy on drivers as well, because even with the power steering and everything you have on these cars, to cope with these elevation changes and very tight twisting corners does demand a lot of the driver. We're racing in 22 degrees Celsius, so it's pretty hot, but quite dry here. There has been some wind, and the track surface, though, 43 degrees Celsius, so it's very grippy.
Yes, and obviously the more heat you have, the better the tyres work. Up to a point, there is a point where they can get a little bit too warm, but what we've got here just now on the Autopolis is suiting the cars and suiting the tyres absolutely perfectly, and they're getting the best grip they can from these tyres to get some real heat into them now. And now you've got 4 or 5 laps into this race, and the guys really settling down now into sort of consistent lap times. And certainly they're feeling that, you know, they're very happy with the way things are going, with the odd exception, of course, the car number 101 that we were talking about before, the little Toyota that had that coming together and was nudged off that little bit. The Toy Story Racing MRS, unfortunately, their race or their weekend is totally ruined with a very, very big piece of damage.
Now there is that number 22 Motul Ortek, the car of Richard Lyons and Mikael Krum. Krum started that Nissan, and he's at the moment running just outside the top 6. He's in 8th place, in fact, at the moment. There is 3rd car in this group here behind the Zent and the Mobil 1 Lexi. Notice, by the way, the circuit is clockwise, but interestingly, it's modelled on Manicure, and the pits are on the outside, on the left-hand side of the track. Manicure being its template, although Autopolis is on a much larger scale than Manicure. It was developed during Japan's economic bubble at the end of the 1980s, but went bust when the bubble burst, and in 1993, when they should have run the Pacific Grand Prix that year, there were more spectators, more creditors than spectators at the track. And that, of course, is the year that Donington Park stepped in and took over that slot, and the year that Ayrton Senna won in the wet. We all remember that.
That's right. We remember very much that year, because I was at Donington when it was raining, and as it often does, rain at Donington, and it certainly was, I understand, last weekend. So we just got to hope that it stays dry. There's certainly, the weather here is that's the last thing on the mind of any of the teams here, that they're going to get any rain whatsoever, but they will be concentrating purely on getting as far away out front as possible with this NSX, the Arta NSX in front with Ralph Furman on board. And we were wrong at the beginning. We said it was car 22. It's actually car 23, with also Nissan Z in second place, but absolutely covered by these NSXs. We've got one either side of it, another one in fourth place, before we get another Calsonic Z in fifth, and the first of the Toyotas, the Zent Toyota, coming up in fifth place.
So we just saw the points there on the screen a moment ago, just to confirm: 68 points up front for Lotterer and Philippe, and then 66 points to Ito and Furman. Of course, they got 3 points last night for getting pole position, and then behind them 65 and 65. Well, we're going for a short break here at Autopolis. Stay with Motors. Have a look at our forums on motors.tv. Tell us what you think. Welcome back to Motors TV. I'm Mark Cole, David Leslie alongside me for round 8 of the Super GT series here from Autopolis. Beautiful weather, great racing, and at the moment we're looking at the one of our favourite cars here, the little Amaya Drink Mazda that's been so up front all year, and at the moment he's running in second place. There is that yellow car there, just behind the Scheiden and just ahead of the Ebro VMAC, which has just been passed by the Huzan Nissan Z for third place in GT300.
That's a really great battle in GT300. There's 4 cars there, all nose to tail, and right behind that another couple of them just waiting to get on there. Right at the very back is the Ford GT that's joined the series this year, but this GT300 battle really is raging. The first guy seems to have sort of like gone off on his own. He really is on a mission this weekend. He was qualifying in pole position quite comfortably, in actual fact, some 0.6 of a second faster than anybody else, but the number 96 Edbro 350R was in second place, but the Mazda starting in third, but now running in second with one of the Nissans in third place, and that's the number 96 car in fourth place.
Yeah, we are hearing, by the way, that the Ebro car is going to be given a drive-through penalty for that first lap collision with the Toy Story Toyota MRS, which wrecked the little Toyota, caught him in the back, spun him round into the wall on the first tour of the race, and so expect to see that Ebro car coming into the pits for a drive-through very quickly. It'll break up this battle a little bit. It's rather a shame because we've got such a good fight on our hands. But at the moment, Taku Banba, that's the man in the silver Nissan who's really on a mission, and he's in third place. Just ahead of him is the Amamiya Aspera Drink RX-7, Tetsuya Yamano on board that at the moment. They won at Sepang in that little yellow car this year, and they're looking for another win this afternoon. But this Scheiden that we've been watching all year, David, this beautiful blue car, Japanese-built, Toyota engined, and really is impressive. I wonder if this is going to be the future of GT300 racing.
Well, it's certainly different, and now you see it there at the front, just going through the screen in front of us there, and it looks very different to everything else. Most of these other cars very much based on everything else. You know, what looks like a road car, except the Schneiden, who's now managed to get himself out in front. Schneiden has done very well during the year. It's right up there in the points towards the head of the GT300 category, but it does look that much different to everything else. It doesn't look like a road car, it looks more like a pure race car. But already you can see the leading cars coming through and lapping some of the slower cars. There's a Porsche getting lapped by 2 of the Honda NSXs in third and fourth place. Absolutely nose to tail, those 2 cars. the Raybrig car and the Takata car.
Yeah, so good stuff here, as you say, and still out front at the moment. Ralph Furman doing a good job there, but we heard that he's got some problems now. It sounds like he's getting going to be warned about some problems at the back of the car. Something's flapping around on it, some of the rear bodywork apparently. There's been a collision with the number 23 car, and we're going to see if he's going to get a signal to come into the pits fairly soon. They give you the orange disc flag, don't you? That's the one.
Yes, if there's a problem with your car, the warning flag that's given to you is a black flag with an orange disc in the middle. But we're currently on lap 8 at the moment of this race, and we've got a long way to go. But just to show you how hard they're pushing as though it's an 8-lap or 10-lap sprint race right from the beginning of this race. Although it's an endurance race, got 2 drivers, driver change, refueling, tyre change, and everything else in the middle of the race. They really are pushing as though it's a real sprint race from start to finish. So these guys very quickly catching, within 7 laps, they're actually caught the cars up, the GT300 cars, the slower cars, and now they've got to get their way through. And that's what makes the Super GT racing here in Japan all that much more interesting, because not only have you got to there's a board with a number 8 on it. Number 8's the Auto NSX, that's the lead car. Yeah, and there's a flag above it. Above it. Well, they're a long way apart, those two. One well above the other one.
It's the back corner there, that back right corner, David.
There's been quite a bit of damage to the back of that car, and it's flapping around. And obviously the officials are meeting the scrutineers who are a little bit worried that something's going to fall off the back of the car. And what you don't want to do is have something fall off and then suddenly go through the windscreen of the car behind. So that's obviously set the Arthur team into panic in the pit lane. You can see them all looking at each other, wondering what's happening, what's going to do, what are they going to do when the car comes in. I'm not sure how much damage that has actually cost. We can see the rear bodywork flapping around a little. How they're going to stop that from coming apart or flapping, I'm not too sure. Maybe lots and lots of orange tank tape, or if they haven't got any orange, some white tape or black tape, whatever they happen to have to hand. But in the meantime, he's leading the race and he won't want to give that up, so he'll just keep on pushing very, very hard indeed. But here we see the car in second place, and that's the Nismo Z car, the Nissan in second place, and that's the one sort of oddball car out there, because it's the only Honda that's not in the top 4 positions. So those two guys very committed this weekend. They believe that carrying not a lot of weight in their car, they're only carrying 10 kilos of ballast. With their Bridgestone tyres, they'll be able to capitalise this weekend on the best fortune, and it looks like some of it's being handed to them on a plate. And sure enough, into the pits comes Ralph Furman with a flapping bodywork on the back of the car. Now if you can watch, and hopefully the director will stay with the car and show us what's happening at the back of that car, but no, he doesn't. What we do see is the new leader, car number 23, the Nissan Nismo car Z there going through, but there we can see them working on the back of the car. What are they going to do to it? Are they taping it? It looks like that to me, as though they're taping it. They've got a roll of tape, yes, certainly. Now then, from experience, if you're going to do endurance racing, things do get damaged. People do bump into each other, certainly when they're lapping things. I've always been with teams whereby they make up great big patches with tank tape already pre-made up in the garage, just hanging inside the door of the garage, so that if something comes in with bodywork hanging off, you can just simply take that patch that you've already made and stick it to the car in order to stick back together whatever it is that's coming slack. It doesn't look as though they had done that, but they were starting from scratch with a big roll of tape which had to be rolled out, torn off, and then stuck onto the car. And a good bit of tape later, I would take an educated guess. Yeah, we can see a fair bit of tape on the back of that car there. So that's been repaired, but a lot of time lost, an awful lot of time lost. That's real bad news, unfortunately, there for Ralph Furman, who's starting that car. So, but out in the lead now, the Nissan. And that's not what everybody was expecting, because the Honda's winning here last year, and certainly very, very quick indeed, and taking their top 2 places and 4th place on the grid. Everyone was expecting the Hondas to rather romp away with this race, and while Ralph Furman was doing that to start with, he was leaving behind him one Nissan, and then behind that the other 2 NSXs in his wake.
Yes, it does really seem to be going Nissan's way at the moment. It's been quite a lean year for them. Just one win so far. That was when Richard Lyons, when Benoit Trullier and Kazuki Shino won the Suzuka 6 Hours, of course. That was in the Calsonic Impulse Z, but nothing else. And Richard Lyons, champion last year, he's still looking, 2 years ago, still looking for his first win of the season, sharing that car with back with Michael Krum, having returned to racing halfway through the season. There's the rest of the GT500 field there, but this weight thing really is starting to show. And as you said, that number 10, that number 23 car of Matsuda and Motoyama, only 10 kilos of ballast, really helping. Got another drive-through penalty. Car number 96. That is, in fact, that's the Ebro BTEC
350R.
Yeah, that's the one that was involved in that first lap accident with the Toy Story. We suspected he might get a penalty. VMAC.
Yeah,
sorry.
the little silver and blue one there with the Ford GT stuck right behind him, and then they're both now in front of the Ferrari as well, and there's the Ford GT going down the inside. So the little VMAC there started to struggle a little bit, and will struggle a bit more when he gets his drive-through penalty, and that will rather change some of the results at the front. He was lying in 4th place, and but certainly he's dropped now. I think that's him down to 6th already before he actually comes into the pits for his drive-through penalty.
So another thing to bear in mind, of course, this circuit, as well as its elevation changes, it's high. It's 1,000 metres. That's 3,000 feet, and if your car's not turbocharged, very few in the race are. The Nissans notably are in GT500. Then a little bit down on power. Turbo engines, of course, make their own atmosphere, but spectators, fabulous for them. I mean, there's 150,000 seats here, but we've heard the crowd figure at the race today, 51,000. They managed to get there. A lot of them are queuing overnight to get up this single mountain road up to this circuit. I mean, you can see how high it is from the long shots there, the scenery around. It's a volcanic region. It's in the middle of the Mount Asokusu National Park. But what a place for a race circuit. I mean, it's almost as good as Fuji, where we're going, of course, for the last race.
And that will be the last race. This is the penultimate race of the championship, and the last one being held at Fuji, again right beside a mountain. So that's what Japan has got an awful lot of, to be perfectly honest. Lots of mountains around, and they do make very good race circuits, because race circuits are always that bit more interesting when you've got some undulations with them, rather than having them flat and not very interesting at all. But you can see just how congested it can get around these race circuits. So you've got a very good battle going on in the GT300 with a number of cars together on their own, and all of a sudden they get attacked by the GT500 cars as they're coming round to lap them, and then all of a sudden you can see 3, 4, 5 cars abreast, all trying to have their own race to make the best possible use. And that's the bigger GT500 cars now coming up to lap the quicker of the GT300 cars, so they're really finding it a little bit more difficult, because these guys, they've got their own race. They want to win in the GT300 category, and all of a sudden when you've got the bigger 500 cars suddenly bearing down in your rear view mirrors, then you really have to watch both back and front, trying to get past the guy in front and make sure that you don't get in the way of the guy behind. But then again, not to move over and let one of your own category cars pass at the same time.
Well, that's a sin, isn't it? Yeah, and I mean, as you can see, they do not take prisoners. So the Ford GT gets swallowed up by the 6th, 7th and 8th place battle. That's the 3 Lexuses all running together. So great racing here at Autopolis this afternoon. And we're looking at the battles going on down through the field here. Richard Lyons in the thick of all that in his number 22 Motul Autec car. Well, he's not actually driving it. Michael Krum's driving, but Richard Lyons will be taking that car over when they make the stop. As we told you earlier, one of only 2 cars in the race that are carrying 90 kilos. In comes the Ebro BTEC VMAC to take its drive-through penalty for its part in the first lap accident, which eliminated the Toy Story Toyota. But then back on the track, action is frenetic as ever. That was the little yellow second place car in GT300, the Mazda RX-7, and a big fight here still between the Motul Z of Krum and the open interface Lexus, the 36 car. That's been driven at the moment by Andre Lotterer. So a nice German battle here, 2 Germans fighting it out here in the middle of Japan. Don't forget to keep having a look at the forum. Tell us your thoughts on the racing. We love all endurance racing. This is as good as any of it. I know a lot of you were up late last night watching Laguna Seca, the final of the LMS. Well, this is the penultimate round, as David just said, of Super GT. We'll be bringing you the final just a few days afterwards on Saturday, November the 11th from Fuji. But enjoy this today. We've still got a long way to go. We're only 25 minutes into what will be a 2-hour race. They're all timed, these 300-kilometre races, to last around 2 hours.
That's right, that's where they come out at, just around about the 2 hours. We see there was what's happening now. The number 23 Nissan, some 6 seconds ahead of the 2 NSXs. Fourth place, another Nissan, the Carsonic Z car in 4th. And coming up behind that should be number 1 Zent. First of the Lexus, second is the Mobile the Mobile car, another Lexus in 6th place. Behind that, the number 22 car, which is a Nissan Z. Then the number 36 Open Interface Tom's Lexus, and then the AAA Sard Supra. That's number 66, one of the older last year's cars, the Toyota car there in 9th place.
Well, the man who's really hurt, of course, is Ralph Furman. He's dropped way down the order. The call to come in to fix that damage was too early for the team to benefit from it. They couldn't use it as a pit stop because only have one pit stop normally, and your driver changes usually midway through the race. So we're looking probably lap 25 onwards in a 65-lap race to see the first of the routine changes. There is as they're running at the moment, that's the points. So that's the points as they started, wasn't it? Yeah, because Ito and Furman got those extra 3 points there, taking them up for pole position. So 68-68, very, very tight at the top. And as you can see, any of those people could take that. That's how they started the race, and if they finish in the order alongside the yellow points is how they would be at the end of this race this afternoon. So as you can see, 27 points available for a win, pole position and a fastest lap, and it's going to be wide open.
Yeah, it is. You get 20 points for winning, 4 points for the pole position and 3 points for the fastest lap. So extra points to be had when you do well, but you also get points for first, second and third for qualifying, and first, second and third for the fastest laps as well. So quite a lot of points. It's not just the 20 points for winning that's available here. Majority of people just do tend to score 20 points for winning. They don't often get the pole position and the fastest lap as well. It has happened during the year, but it doesn't happen very often.
Interesting. We're just talking a couple of minutes ago about the 2-hour format of these races. It's very much in the news this week. Stefan Rattel looking at taking the FIGT Championship from 3-hour races down to 2 hours. Last year he said it would be suicide to do that because it would be too short. But of course, television demands shorter races, and this works beautifully, doesn't it? The Super GT. So I can't see the problem. I think Stefan probably is on the right track there.
I think it's a very good endurance event. 2 drivers, about an hour each, and most of these cars have got around about 100 litres worth of fuel on board when they first start, and that 100 litres generally will last you an hour. So if you're working on that basis, then you've got just enough fuel to get you through the 2 hours with one stop in the middle, and that one stop usually has a driver change and a tyre change. And there we're looking at the car leading the GT300 category with Kato driving at the moment, and they have to say, as we said earlier, that they really are on a charge this weekend. They've been able to take pole position, stretch themselves away at the very beginning, and that's one of the Lexus has gone off, and the GT500 cars have gone off on the outside, the white one there, the Mobile SE1 car number 6. Now they were running in 6th place, just ahead of car 22, the Motul Nissan Z. So I'm not sure if they managed to stay in front of that. But that white Lexus there with the silver Mobile on it, it's not a colour we're used to seeing, because the Mobile colours are usually red, white and blue, rather than a very silver Mobile written on the side of a white car. It's not something we're used to seeing. And certainly I'm pretty sure when it started off at the beginning of the year, their colours were much more the original colour. Certainly they were on the front of the car, maybe not on the side of the car.
Yeah, I don't know what that's not a normal mistake for Akira Aida to make. He's a very experienced Le Mans driver, and he's been doing endurance racing all his career, so I wonder if there's something more than just a driver error there. Who knows? But here at the moment is the car that's leading. There's a Navi Nissan, one of the 2 factory Nismo cars, run out of Nissan's tuning department in Tokyo. And good job being done this afternoon here by Sugio Matsuda. He'll hand that car over to Satoshi Motoyama. Motoyama, of course, twice GT champion.
But on lap 16, you can see the lap times that were just showing there for the number 23 Nissan, and just how consistent they were. They were all in the 1 minute 34 second bracket. And that was, even when you're having to lap the slower GT300 cars, or maybe even some of the much slower GT500 cars, he was still able to keep a very, very quick lap time indeed. And that was about 6 laps in total we've seen there on the corner of the screen, and all of them within just a few tenths of each other. So even when he was lapping people, he was losing little or no time at all. So that's the consistency that makes the difference in endurance racing. So it's when you're in positions like this where you're behind some of the slower cars, you know you need to get past it, but you need to get past it safely. It's no good just simply diving down the inside and hitting it, because you're going to do more damage to your own car. And if you do that, you may end up with, like Ralph Furman did, with some damage to the car, and he's have to come in and get it taped up, and all of a sudden, that's the best part of a minute will be lost. Every time you come in, slow down, repair the vehicle and get back out onto the circuit. It's amazing how much, even just coming into the pits for a drive-through penalty and out the other side, will lose you somewhere between 30 and 40 seconds here at the Autopolis circuit, because it is a very long pit straight indeed, and you don't actually come out onto the circuit until you're just a long way down there.
And what the camera doesn't do justice to is just how steep this hill is. Imagine Paddock Hill Bend at Brands Hatch and then stretch it by about 10 times. It's that steep down here. And it swoops down, starts to climb up again, and that's why the weight they carry, the success penalties are so heavy. Here's the GT300s as they started the race on points, and they're alongside the yellow if the race was to finish now. And it looks like at the moment it's going to come down to about 4 teams with just 27 points available, but Sasaki and Bamba in that Nissan would have a lot of work to do if they're going to overhaul Takahashi and Kato, who we are looking at the moment in this beautiful Privé Zurich car. This car incidentally named after the famous Japanese World War II fighter. Those of you who know your warplanes, it was the Kawanishi Shiden-Kai, they called it, Violet Lightning, and it was built towards the end of the war. It's the same people, same technology from the Kawanishi works, and it's been adapted by the team that ran. This is a team that ran Hondas and also VMAX last year. So it's a big change for them, trying with a completely new car, totally untested. They built it from the wheels up, put the Toyota V8 in, and look, here they are, leading today at Autopolis.
I have to say, when they first started, it didn't sort of shine in the first couple of races, but since then it's been doing very well indeed, and it's been scoring regularly on points. But this weekend it really has shone above the rest of them, and all the time is stretching its lead out quite handsomely from the rest of the GT300 cars. But here we see the two NSXs in second and third place. Not for the last 4 or 5 laps have they been separated by anything much more than 1 second, but nose to tail all the way through. It's only when they get into the traffic and have to overtake that they might put a little bit of space between them. But the Takata car started on pole position, very much harrowing the back of that Ray Brigg car, the blue and white Honda NSX. So still in second and third place, and very much looking forward to trying getting a win out of this race. Hondas always go very well here at Autopolis. We said earlier on they won last year with Ralph Furman, who led the race to start with, but unfortunately due to some damage to the back of the car had to come in and get that repaired, so that's dropped him well down the order at the moment.
Yeah, Michigami, I don't know what his problem on that first lap was. He dropped from 4th to 3rd and then went down to 4th a couple of laps later, but he's certainly on a mission now, and really having a look at getting back ahead of the Ray Brigg car. This car is run by Toshio Suzuki, the Takata Dome. It's part of Honda Racing Team. The Ray Brigg car rival team, that's Kunimitsu Takahashi's team. Obviously cars are all built by the same people, but Dome have a big interest in all of them, and engines are supplied by the Honda factory. Remember the big story last year where Honda, having struggled with their 3-litre turbos, turbo V6s, then decided to go to atmospheric 3.5, and that's when all the results started coming, and we saw a whole string of pole positions and wins midway through last year, and they've carried it on through into this year.
That's right, and as you say, once you change that engine, the whole thing moved forward. But there we had just seen the car 55, the Advan Ford GT, move up a position. Now they started down in 11th place in their category, and they've now moved themselves up to, I think it's either 3rd or 4th place in the GT300 category. But these two NSXs, the Red Brick car and the Takata car, are really going hammer and tongs at it to, and I think the number 18 Takata car, the green and white one, really would like to get past. He feels that he's quicker overall, but he's got to get first past his sister NSX car before he can stretch himself away and try and catch the number 23 Nissan that's out in front.
Yeah, as with the DTM, it's a teams championship this rather than a manufacturers championship. So only got two rival teams like this. They're not going to pull back at all. It might both be in Hondas, but they are fighting for the team's crown as well as for the drivers' crowns here. So don't expect to see any quarter given. And he really is getting close now. Ryo Mishigami really getting underneath the back of that car. And I wouldn't be surprised if Sebastian Philippe gets past before long, because he's really under a huge amount of pressure now. This is for second place, remember, as all the time that Nissan, the Nissan Zanavi Nismo Z of Sugeo Matsuda pulls further and further away, because these two are basically holding each other up now.
They are, and you can see the blue and white Raybrig car just watching every move behind him in his mirror, just to see exactly where that Takata car is. And he's just desperately trying to keep him behind. He wants that position. There you see the lights being flashed. A little button on the steering wheel, just press it and the lights will flash 3 or 4 times. Just the ones there, and trying both sides on the outside, looking down the inside, really pushing it. Lock that front brake up. Will he leave a space down the inside? Will the car, no, not be able to get down the inside?
You're back on Motors TV. This is Autopolis, round 8 of the 2006 Super GT Series. I'm Mark Cole. Alongside me, David Leslie, as we watch coming into the pits the number 35 car.
That's the number 35 Bandai Lexus car that's come in, the SC430. And it's come in very early for its pit stop at Peter Drumbreck on board. And he'll be handing over to Naka Hattori for the second part of this race, but he is in very early. We weren't expecting him in quite as early as this. Most people were coming in around about lap 30, but he's certainly in early. We're not sure if there's a problem with that car, or if there's a hassle, or there's something gone wrong with it that need to come in and do some extra work to it. But a little bit early for the normal round of pit stops there.
Yeah, that car, of course, they won at Fuji the third round this year, Peter and Naka Hattori together, but as you say, a lot earlier than we had expected anyone to come in. They weren't running in the top 6 though, so it doesn't affect the running order at the moment, which remains as the Zanavi Nismo Z of Sugeo Matsuda leading these two cars, the Raybrig NSX of Sebastian Philippe and the Takata Dome NSX, the pole position car of Ryo Mishigami. He threw it all away, finished up 4th after 3 laps, had to fight his way back up, and he really is fighting at the moment. Again, we saw Philippe locking up just before into the break, and Philippe not doing it this time, but he still has Mishigami climbing all over the back of him.
Yes, he is. He's just not going away at all. He really would like that place. He feels that once he gets in front, he'll be able to pull away and try and do something about the leader of this race, the number 23 Nissan Z. But again, now you see lap 21, the position is just so close indeed, and you know that time is actually taken at the start and finish line when it's a little bit we come onto the straight, and there's a little bit more space between them, or maybe even when they've been separated by one of the lapped cars that they're attacking now. But you can see just how many cars they've got to get through, and once you get past one and you think, well, has the second one seen me before I disappear into the corner, and there you see all of a sudden the Raybrig car has put 2 cars between himself and the Takata car, but very quickly using that speed of that GT500 to pass the slower GT300 cars, and carrying that speed down through the corners, and certainly in no time at all he'll be catching back up with the other NSX. But the cars that are now lapping are the cars at the front of the GT300 category in actual fact, and we're talking about cars that are lying in 4th and 5th place in the GT300 category. So by lap 21 they're starting to lap them already. We're looking...
Well, it's the second time, in fact, David, they've gone past them, so it's taken just over 10 laps the first time.
That's right. I mean, we're looking at something for a 2-hour race, something in the order of 65 laps. So on lap 21 at the moment, and there's somebody else peeled off into the pits early. A Calsonic car That must be for a normal pit stop, I would think, but it's very early indeed. I was thinking more around about lap 30.
Yeah, we're only 1/3 distance,
before
aren't we?
the cars come in, but here comes the number 12 Calsonic car, Nissan in. Let's see what happens. Normal pit stop, refueling. Rear tyres off first, driver out, new driver going in, rear tyres finished. Now they refuel the car. Now you can't do any work on the car while you refuel it, but different teams have got different systems here at the Super GT in Japan, and driver change done. That's all done and dusted, and once the refueler comes off, he's off. The front tyres now going onto the car, and that will get done. Down onto the ground it goes, immediately into gear, wheels spinning, and that's a good, very good pit stop. 28.7 seconds. Normally it's just over 30 seconds. 30 seconds or just over for a pit stop for these guys to do a driver change, 4 tyres and refueling. So good pit stop there for the Calsonic car. Now that was running in, where are we, 1, 2, 3, 4th place behind the two Nissan NSXs. So it's going to take a little while now until all the various cars come in, have their pit stops, and get back out again. So for the next 10-15 laps, I think it will be very much mixed up as to who's in what position, depending upon who's been into the pit for their pit stop and who hasn't.
Yeah, so you'll have some virtual leaders for a while, but that it was Benoit Trullier handing over the car with his yellow stripe helmet, and Kazuki Hoshino taking it over. He's the eldest son of Kazuyoki Hoshino, who runs the Calsonic Impulse Z Team Hoshino car there. Benoit Trullier, incidentally, leading the Formula Nippon Championship, so he's got a lot on his plate this year. Big fight then again, and have we got the Takata cars almost taken position there? Got alongside there, David.
He did. He was right alongside. I'm sure he was just going to get past at that point, but they were passing some of the other cars, as the 3 of the leading GT300 cars as they came down the straight there. And I think it was only because of those other cars that they managed to end up staying in their positions that they're in. But you still have that battle right behind for the GT300s as well. And they've got another of the Nissans in front. That looks like the Endless car number 13, Nissan Z. What they call Nissan Fairlady in Japan, up there as well, because they've not done as well this weekend as they normally do. They certainly didn't qualify anywhere near the front where they normally do. I have to say the Nissan Z, the Endless car number 13, generally right up there, but having a few more problems. They only qualified in 9th place for this particular race.
50 kilos as well not helping, and remember these Nissans in GT300 are not turbocharged like their big brothers in GT500. What we're looking at here then, there's a pass coming. This is the yellow hat car, the yellow hat Nissan, the Masami Hashemi Run car of Jean-Pierre Lima de Oliveira, taking position there from the 25 car. That's 20.
I think it was the 36 open interface top car.
Andre Lotterer.
And that was one of the Lexuses.
Yeah, so he split Lotterer from Mikael Krum. That's interesting.
So the Toyota's not having a very good time here, the Lexus cars this weekend.
But that is Krum right in front of him. Well, it was. The red car we just saw was Krum right in front of that yellow car. We've now switched to the sister car, the Zenavi Nismo Z. This is the number 23 car. 23, of course, in Japanese, Nissan, meaning Nissan. So,
yeah, the Nissan is 2 is Ni and 3 is San in Japanese. So that's why Nissan always run with number 23 as their works car. I remember that when I was racing for Nissan in the British Touring Car Championship. Always one of the 2 cars had the number 23 on it.
The problem comes with the 22 car, which then becomes a Ni. But anyway, enough of that.
In comes the number 46. Now they were a long way down with that car.
Yeah, they started in 6th place, but they'd fallen back a bit. This is the Sasaki...
That's a GT300 car.
Yeah, the Sasaki Bangba car.
Yep.
That's the one that Sasaki brought in earlier. So here's the overall leaders though. The Zenavi Z still leading from the 2 Hondas that are still fighting a ferocious battle. I'm surprised that Mishigami hasn't been able to get by, but Sebastian Philippe absolutely determined to hold that place. Both those cars winners this year, the green Takata Dome car in Okayama, that was the 2nd round of the series, and Sebastian Philippe in the 7th round of the series, the last race that we covered here on Motors TV at Motegi, Twin Ring Motegi. Here they are.
And still just locked, absolutely nose to tail. You see there the time is still the same. It's less than a second between the 2 of them. And when you look at it, I must say it looks like more like 0.1 of a second, because all the way around this circuit, around the back of the circuit, the twisty part, they are very much nose to tail. It's only when they come on to the start and finish straight, they have that little bit of a gap that looks nearly a whole second. It's not very much 1 second when you measure it when you're doing speeds in excess of 180 miles an hour, as these guys are doing. But having a look down the straight here, can he
He's
get
got the
a
line.
slingshot?
He's got the line.
Eventually. How long has that taken? That has taken him a long time. Now then, can he do what he wanted to do? Can he now stretch away from the rear brig car and get himself away? Because he's been flashing the lights, he's been behind, he's been sort of like trying to say, look, I would like past, I'm quicker, I'm wanting past. But he obviously got himself onto the straight with a good slingshot behind the rear brig car, and managed to get a good tow down the straight, pulled out, got himself alongside, and managed to get clean past the car before he actually got to the first corner into 40 radius, before he goes downhill to the 240R and then down to 50R at the bottom.
Yeah, Ryo Mishigami in that green car, incidentally. He was the 2000 Japanese GT champion in GT 500, still driving for Honda in those days, always been very loyal to Honda and considered to be one of their top guys. Here is Jean-Pierre Oliveira. We're going to be taking a short break in a minute, so stay with us on Motors and do have a look at our forums, the endurance forums. There's a message up about Super GT this evening. If you get onto it, we'll try and give you a mention during the programme. And great racing here, continuing. That number 23 Nissan still leading the pack, but that's changed around now. The Takata Dome NSX now in second place, and the other one in third. We'll be back in a minute. This is Super GT from Autopolis on Motors, and in comes our lead car. Suzuka Matsuda just bringing in that number 23 Nissan, handing over now as we get to, what, 27th lap of a 65 lap race, David.
That's right, and quite a lot of work going on in the pits. The first thing that happened, same as the other team, rear tyres are changed, driver being changed. Once that's done, the refueling starts. Once the refueling is stopped, then they'll do the front tyres after that. And the driver's been done, the door's closed, the front wheels are now off. And when the car stopped as well, one of the mechanics made a dive for the front windscreen and ripped off a great big massive piece of plastic. And what they've got is basically a false windscreen, a piece of clear plastic taped over the top of the windscreen. And that will take any dirt and oil and stones and things that are thrown up in the first half of the race, and rather than cleaning the windscreen, they just simply rip off a piece of plastic off the whole front of the windscreen. Now normally we've seen that where drivers have a little rip off their crash helmet, off the visor on their crash helmet, a little piece of plastic that goes across the front to protect it. Once it gets all dirty and oily and bits and pieces, they just rip it off and throw it away. Well, now they're starting to do that with these cars. In actual fact, the whole front windscreen, there's a little flap, they've got it so they can just grab it and rip the whole thing off very, very quickly indeed. And you're left with a perfectly clean windscreen underneath. And that's what's just happened to car number 23. So the Nissan team there very much switched on to exactly what they're doing in their pit stops. They had themselves a very good lead before they came in. They've had a complete tyre change and everything, gone back out, and this one of the Lexus fighting, saying, I would like this place, thank you very much, I'll just take that away from you. So they're having their own time, and right behind that yellow car is one of the older Toyota Supras from last year's cars.
So that was our race leader. He's obviously virtually not at the moment. In comes the 100 car, that's the
rear brig car.
Yep, that's in.
And exactly the same thing, they're doing a driver change and refueling. Refueling, driver change, that's a mechanic coming out having fitted the seat belts in. They'll put one mechanic in one side, one in the other. You can see lots of cars now in there having their pit stops right in the middle of this race. And out's coming one of the GT300 cars there. At the far end of the pit lane is the rear brig car, headlights on. He's coming out and down the pit lane. And coming in is the other of the Works Nissan Nismo cars. That's the Michael Kroom car number 22. They've got a lot of weight on board, as we said earlier, carrying a lot of ballast. And that'll be the same thing there. Yeah, door open, straight out straight away. And as the driver was getting out, you've seen this piece of plastic being torn off the windscreen at the front and sort of like thrown over the guy's shoulder. These mechanics very much trained to do very, very quick pit stops indeed. And that was done. There we are, door shut and closed, waiting for the fuel to come off there. Fuel's off, on goes the gun, off comes one wheel, on goes the new one, on goes the gun, down onto the ground. It is that quick, 32.3 seconds. Now, we did say earlier on, the first car we'd seen come in was 28 seconds. I did say then that was a very quick stop. Most people around about the 32 second mark. And I have to say that looked very good indeed, but came out at the average times.
And look at that, Richard rejoining just ahead of the Takata Dome. And well, you know, he's a lap down, of course, isn't he? But just ahead, hasn't quite been lapped. The Takata Dome, Ryo Mishigami still on board. He has yet to stop, of course. So our lead and third place cars have stopped, but the second place car now moves into the lead, but he's got to make his stop as well. So it'll be interesting to see what happens when Sebastian Philippe hands this car over to Shinya Hosokawa. Can he do the same job that Sebastian did, hunting down the Raybrigg car over about 20 laps and then passing him?
But the Takata car's doing some very good laps indeed. About 5 laps ago he had one slow one, I think, obviously when he was overtaking a few cars, but he's had some very good lap times. But there's one of the Lexus cars coming in, the Zent car, the number 1 car with Takachi on board. Again, that'll be a driver change, and I'm not sure how many tyres the Lexus will actually change. Pretty sure it'll be all 4 yet. The rear ones are done, and most of the guys now have got this system whereby they will do 2 tyres, then once that's done they will start and refuel. And then the driver change goes on constantly all the way right from the very beginning until it's done. And once the refueling's off, there it's off. He was right at the very back of that car. That's where the Lexus refuels. Then the front tyres changed. 30.1 seconds, so he saved himself a couple of seconds. Now, a couple of seconds doesn't seem like very much, but if you can save yourself 2 seconds in the pits, believe me, to try and make up 2 seconds out there on the circuit when you're trying your hardest and you're fighting for every last hundredth of a second, then all of a sudden 2 seconds seems like a million miles away. It's a very long distance and time indeed to try and catch up. So any time that can be made up in the pits is very much appreciated by the drivers and the team managers, and that's why the mechanics work so hard at their pit stops. They really do practice them to get them down to fine art. When a car stops, how quick can it be got up in the air? How quick can the rear tyres be got off and got back on before the refueler comes on? How quickly can you tell when the refueler comes off in order for the guys at the front to get on with the front tyres? And of course, you've also got to make sure that the drivers get on with their job, and whoever else is helping them to get the old driver out, new driver in, and seat belts on, and radio connected, and probably the cool suit connected as well, and the drinks bottle connected. So you know, you say there's lots of time, there's 30 odd seconds to do that in, but in actual fact there is an awful lot of work to do in that very short period of time.
Yeah, one of the things, of course, he only allowed a certain number of people working on the car, and we are hearing that Raybrigg car may have had a pit work violation, so we'll have to watch that one. Apparently stewards are investigating it at the moment. There's the 36 car in. This is the open interface Tom's car of Andre Lotterer, handing over to Juichi Wakisaka. And here again is our leader, Ryo Mishigami. He'll be handing over to Takashi Kogure as soon as he's finished his stint. The Okayama winners, of course, together in the second round of the championship, and their second pole position this year. There in fact is Takashi Kogure. There he is waiting in his helmet, much taller than the average Japanese Kogure, so luckily Mishigami is a fairly tall guy as well, so not too much seat changing or padding has to be done.
That makes a little bit of a difference, but it's well sorted and well practiced. So if there is a seat padding to be changed, it's simply lift one out, put one in, and quite often they'll start with the shorter driver, so that you take one out and don't put anything in, you just simply change, and they've got no change in the seat whatsoever, just one driver out, one driver in.
So the Takata team, run by Toshio Suzuki, of course former Formula 1 driver, remember all those years in the LaRousse Lamborghinis, and in goes the fuel, as David pointed out, rear tyres change, and then as soon as the fuel's in, front tyres be changed as well. What we've been seeing in recent races is the Hondas only needing really to change the rears, but this circuit obviously a lot heavier on tyres than others.
Yeah, the circuit very, very twisty indeed, and with the undulation changes, uphill, downdale, into some of these tighter hairpins. They certainly are making the tyres work very well indeed. And as we said earlier on at the beginning of the programme, just how warm it is here, and with a track temperature of some 45 degrees, then the tyres are working at their optimum temperature, and so you really are using them to the best of their ability. And here comes the Takata car out in front of the Raybrig car, and
well, that's where they wanted to be.
That's exactly what they wanted to be with it.
So that means that Kaguri hasn't got all that work to do that he did, that Mishigami had to do earlier to get ahead of Sebastian Philippe. But it's still close because, of course, the green Takata car's just come out of the pits on cold tyres, and the other car has had a 2-lap advantage, getting the tyres heated up.
That's right, and but when you come out, you've got new tyres on. You feel that definitely that's the way to go, and you will be able to get the best out of your tyres. Usually, when you get new tyres on, that first and second lap is where you get the best out of it, and you really do push yourself forward, and you just feel that little bit more confident with brand new tyres on. And Takata car's come out in front, which is where he was, only just in front, admittedly, but he'll be very happy with his car, I'm sure, and the tyres he's got on board. He'll be saying, yeah, I can do this, I can put in the necessary lap times. And of course, unlike some of the endurance racing around the world, the drivers, very evenly matched drivers, both the first and second driver of all these cars. You haven't got like one fast one and one slow one. All the drivers very, very evenly matched indeed, and they will all be able to do the same sort of lap times. Very much the Premier Sports Car Championship in Japan, without doubt. So you get the best drivers both from Europe, well, from around the world basically, but and also from Japan. And these guys, certainly no slouches whatsoever. It's not as though that the second driver in any of these cars will be like 1 or 2 or 3 seconds slower, but very much on the pace, and you can see just how hard to try. And again, the green Takata car is slowly pulling itself away. It came out with the newer tyres on, so I think he's now certainly in the first lap made very good use of them, and he'll be hoping to try and pull away and pull in the number 23 car that was leading early on, the Nissan Nismo car there.
Yeah, it looks like the 23 car has dropped back a little bit now, doesn't it? They're probably about 5 or 6 seconds behind, I think, that much. So obviously a much quicker stop there. Shinya Hosokawa then on board at the moment, and these are our leaders for the moment after all the pit stops have seemed to have been made. Well, gradually, I say all of them, all the important guys up front. We're up on lap 31 now, and just about all completed. 65 laps this race, so we're now over half distance, and long way to go though. Still an hour of racing ahead of them in these hot conditions. 22 degrees still, as it was at the start of the race. Track, as David just said, 45 degrees Celsius. So good stuff here from Autopolis, and still hasn't panned out how it's going to happen. Can Nissan catch up with these two Hondas? So spectators here on this lovely warm afternoon, October afternoon here in Japan on Kyushu, the southernmost of the main islands in Japan, and looking at great racing here. There's the yellow hat car of JP de Oliveira. It hasn't stopped yet, so he is our leader at the moment, in fact, virtual leader, because when he stops, everything will change again.
That's right, and as we said earlier on, that once it all starts for the pit stops, then you're not sure who's in what position, but the Raybrig car, that's the Epson car, number 32. That's another, the Honda NSX is having some problems, not going as well as what the rest of them are. There you've got number 23 Nissan, the Arta NSX right behind it. That was the car that Ralph Furman started that had the problem when he came in, and not far behind now is the green Honda NSX there. The Takata car looking as though it really is gaining at the moment, and very quickly around the outside of the blue and white Honda NSX, certainly having a few problems there with that particular car. The Epson car hasn't really shown very well this weekend at all. We'd have thought that all these cars very much the same, and they would all have been of a similar pace, but that one really is struggling a little bit. But there you see the lap time now on lap 32 down to a 1:43, so a very quick lap indeed with a new driver on board. So he looks as though he's going to very much give the hopefully the leader shortly, which will be the number 23 car, the Nissan, who's been in as he has, the Takata NSX, hopefully giving a good battle there for first place. But at the moment they've got the Arta car in between. I'm not sure exactly what position that is on the circuit. And
well, he's just going. I think he's just gone in, hasn't he? The Arta car, Ralph, making it.
No, he's still. He's just moved out of the way. I think.
Right.
Has he moved out of the way? Is he?
Have they?
Yeah, he's moved out of the way. He's seen that this guy's racing for the lead. He doesn't want to get involved. Very good. The Honda guys working together, and as you said, you know, two of the drivers, they've been with their team or their manufacturer for a long time, and that's very much what they do here in Japan. They do, once they join a manufacturer, they do stick with it for the rest of their life, basically. It's very unusual for them to change from one manufacturer to another.
Now, we talked about the teams championship earlier. Of course, this car, the Takata car, and the orange car behind it are teammates. They're both part of a Honda racing team run by Toshio Suzuki, so that is a case of teamwork, really at work. Ralph Furman knows that if it's him still on board the car, he knows they can't win this race now after his problems earlier. So help your teammate all you can, and look at those headlights trying to help as well. So that's the 22 car just ahead of them, I think, but the 23 car will be our virtual leader when we go out. No, there it is. That is the battle at the moment for what is the virtual lead. So that's a big jump that the 18 car of Takashi Kagura has made. Suddenly caught up with that Zanavi car, which Satoshi Motoyama is on board now. Satoshi, of course, 4 times Formula Nippon champion and 2 times Japanese GT champion, one of them with Richard Lyons. And here we are. This is the battle for the real lead of the race, because we're still waiting for Olivier Lima to stop.
Yeah, the yellow hat car, the Toyota's still got to come in. It hasn't had its first stop yet, or the only stop yet. When it does, this is the battle we're looking at for first and second overall once the yellow hat car comes in for his pit stop. So they had a good lead early on, did the Nissan, but that lead now has been whittled down to nothing. And look at the cars in front of them. There must be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 cars, all nose to tail. And they've got to find their way through all that somehow or another. And that's what makes endurance racing just so exciting, that when you arrive at the back of there, which way do you go? Do I go to the right? Do I go to the left? If I go to the right, will he go to the left? If I go one way, will he go the other way? And which way is going to be quickest? I don't want to get held up by somebody's having an off as well in the middle of it all.
Is that the Lamborghini? Or?
He arrives down there, I'm not sure what it was.
Yeah, it was the Lamborghini.
Yeah. He arrived down in the middle of there, all on his own, had his own accident and slid off. And luckily, nobody touched him whatsoever. But you can see there, with all the cars that were there, it looks as though somebody else has had a go at the grass. And they've got 1, 2 cars to go, and that will be through that whole pile. And they've got one of the little GT300 cars and the Ford GT, the silver car right behind the blue and white one. The blue and white one, I think, is one of the 350R GT300R cars. And you can see the rest of the bigger cars now also trying to work their way through. But it's that racing whereby there's so many cars on the circuit at once, and that's what makes the endurance racing just so exciting to watch.
And then, of course, what lifts the Japanese series even higher is the number of different makes you got here in that big gaggle. There must have been 10 different makes. That blue Scheiden that's still leading GT300, we haven't seen much of them lately. None of the GT300 cars, none of the leading group have made their stops yet. They can go further. There is the Scheiden we're looking at the moment, making way for our virtual lead battle at the moment until, as we say, Lima d'Oliveira actually comes in with the yellow hat car, makes his stop.
So that was
our second and third.
Yeah, that was the first 2 in the GT500 category, and then that car right behind with the blue car with the headlights on was first in the GT300 category, that Schneider car, so Scheiden car. So there we are. That's the yellow hat car coming in now for his.
No, it's not.
No, that's the
Mazda,
RX-7, the little Mazda.
Second in GT300. Yeah.
And they're right up there for the GT300, and also right up there for the GT300 Crown as well. They were lying second in the championship when they came into this race, and they are running towards the front. Obviously not first. That's very much reserved for the Scheiden car, that blue car we were looking at. And but the little Mazda very much fighting for a podium position behind it, and I'm pretty sure that will help it in the overall standings.
It's certainly the Lamborghini Murcielago we saw spinning. That's Marco Apicella, obviously got tapped, and that car won the Suzuki 300 at the beginning of this year, first round. And of course, we, like everyone else, were stunned that Lamborghini had finally won an international race outright, or well, international class certainly outright. But it just shows how quickly you can go down the order, because neither of the two Lamborghinis running here are in the top 10. So things change so quickly, start adding weight, and all sorts of problems come in.
I think a lot of differences on some of the circuits to go to as well. And it makes a big difference depending on what circuit you go to. And of course, there is also a difference in tyres in some of these cars, because some of the cars have got different tyres. Yokohamas are one of the major tyres, along with Dunlop in the GT300 category, and yet Bridgestone is almost all dominant in the GT500 category, with some Dunlop and Yokohama throwing in with the GT500s, but Yokohama with Dunlops and one Hancock tyred car as well in the GT300 category.
Yeah, the Lamborghinis both on Yokohamas. And remember, of course, one of those Lamborghinis, the Apicella Hinoi car, came to Le Mans this year for the 24 hours, and certainly, although it didn't have a huge success, it certainly ran the race for some distinction until it eventually went out. But it was good to see them there, and they're talking about coming back next year. What I'd love to see, though, David, is this Privé Zurich car. Unfortunately, it doesn't really fit in with Le Mans regulations at the moment, but it is such a stunning car.
It is, but rules are rules, and unfortunately the Japanese guys with the Super GT rules have gone their own route, and a very good route it is indeed, because it is by far the quickest of the GT cars around the world that are racing. And you have to say, very exciting indeed. They have a very international feeling about their races, with all the drivers from around the world as well as their own Japanese drivers. And it is the Japanese drivers who are up front just now. First and second, we're looking at that Nissan, followed by the Honda NSX right behind there, and the Honda really is hanging onto the back of it, and a little bit different that was, but it's the yellow hat cat back in again. No, it was yellow first time in, so it was the Mazda that came in before. Yep. So that was them coming out of the lead because they hadn't had their stop. So the yellow hat car coming in now. So we will go back to reality as far as the positions are overall once this car's come in and had its changeover. So there we are, into the lead now goes the number 23 car. Second place, number 18. Third place, number 100 there, the Raybrig car. In fourth place, number 12. Number 12 is the Calsonic Impulse Z, and then number 35, which is the Bandai car, who have made up quite a few places actually, because 1, 2, 3, 4, they're up into 5th, and they didn't have a fantastic start to the race. They didn't have a fantastic qualifying, but they certainly have moved themselves up a little bit at the moment. How long they can stay there, I'm not sure.
Yeah, that 18 car really closing up again now on our lead Nissan. Satoshi Motoyama has been holding him off for some time, but again Kogure's up close again. Well, as you can see there, we are now this is lap 38 of 65, and we're still waiting for the GT300 leaders to make their stops. We saw the Mazda in, but certainly the Scheiden hasn't come in yet, nor has any of the Nissans running in GT300, so we've got those stops to come yet. More fun to look forward to. We'll watch those carefully. We have heard, by the way, we mentioned it earlier, we have heard that the Raybrig car is almost certainly going to get a penalty for pit work violation. What that penalty is going to be, we don't yet know, but presume it's not something you can just do with a drive-through if you've got too many men working on the car or something.
The penalties are laid out in the rule book basically, and they can make a decision what they're going to do. Generally, something like that, it's fait accompli. It's not something you can argue with. You know, if you have too many people in the car, then you've got too many people on the car. Penalties tend to be drive-through penalty or a stop-and-go penalty. If for some reason that's not actually applied before the end of the race, they could also put on a time penalty at the end of the race, because quite often, you know, sometimes somebody will get a penalty or do something wrong towards the end of a race, and it's simply not realistic or possible to get somebody in within the last 1 or 2 laps to serve that penalty, whatever it might be. So then you would have to put a time penalty onto the car after that. But there we see the first 5 cars finishing with a number 35 Bandai car in 5th place. I have to say that's a very good move for them. I'm not sure if they can keep that pace up there in 5th place, but certainly that is a big step forward for them from their qualifying.
Yeah, have they moved? Have they stopped yet? Mustard, I'm sure we've got all the GT300 stops, GT500 stops behind us. It's the GT300 ones we're waiting for. Here's our first and second. As you can see, Nissan against Honda. Lexus really completely out of it this weekend as someone just ahead of them kicks up the dust, goes a bit wide as they plunge down the hill here. It's one of the Porsche GT3s. I think we've only got one in the race, haven't we? It's the only GT3 is the Hankook car you just mentioned about Hankook tyres of Mitsuhiro Kinoshita. He's on board that. Another man we've seen at Le Mans in the past. So down the hill then, 1, 2 and 3, but we're still watching that blue Raybrig car, see what sort of penalty he's going to get. The car in 3rd place. They're going a little further down, 8th, 9th and 10th places. Battle going on between the Yellow Hat Nissan and then the Toms Lexus and the Mobil 1 Lexus running in 9th and 10th places. So good battles all through the field here, but still waiting, as we say, to see the first of the GT300 leaders stop. There's still very fine weather here at Autopolis. 4th year it's been here. 51,200 spectators is the official crowd figure this afternoon. It's been that way the whole year. 50,000 at Motegi, and prior to that at Suzuka they had 80,000 for the 1,000-kilometer race, which for the first time in its history became part of the Japanese Super GT Championship. Race leader then at the moment is 23 car, sister car to this one. So watching the Privé Zurich Scheiden, the Mooncraft built car of Rocky Kato, not yet stopped, David.
No, Rocky Kato started the car, and these cars do last a little bit longer. They've only got 300 horsepower compared to the 500 of the GT500 category, but there we can see the positions of that category, and in 4th place is that Mazda that we've seen earlier on, and dropped down to 6th place now is the number 46 car, the car that came in for the drive-through penalty. And it looks like 4th, 5th and 6th have all had their stops. 1st, 2nd and 3rd have not had their stops, but this guy now is stretched himself out to something like a 1 minute 30 lead. So if they come in, do their pit stop, they'll get back out without even losing the lead, because they've got such a big lead now with the Privé Zurich sponsored Scheiden car, and they're really having a very good weekend indeed.
Yeah, it's all come together at last. As we said, this car built by Mooncraft, very famous name in Japan, copying the Moon tuning company in America. Here's our 3rd place car at the moment, the Raybrig car. How long he's going to stay there, we do not know. The Calsonic Nissan Z in 4th place at the moment. That's the number 12 car of Benoit Trullier, Kazuki Hoshino. That was the Suzuka 6 Hours winner. And Trullier, by the way, leading the Formula Nippon Championship with the penultimate round due to be held at Motegi. So he's very much poised to become champion if he can finish in the top 3 in that. But back to GT racing here at Autopolis, under a big attack now by Takashi Kogure on that car. Satoshi Motoyama holding him off.
He's feeling that he's got to get that Takata car, really get a move on with it, because now right on his tail, you look right behind him, there's that Raybrig, blue and white Honda NSX, now in 3rd place. So there you are, 1st, 2nd and 3rd in the GT500 category, absolutely nose to tail. And it's only this overtaking of the slower cars that will actually put any space between each of the 3 cars. And the Honda NSX is very much feeling on top of the world. This is very much a good circuit for them. Sometimes when you go, the circuits do vary depending on what car you've got or what tyres you've got, can make a big difference. But here at Autopolis, the NSXs feel that it's their circuit, having won here previously last year, been on pole position this year, but the one person that's stopping that from happening, the number 23 Nissan 350Z, that's out there in front and really is going very quickly indeed, not necessarily having to try and keep behind the cars that are behind it, not doing any sort of blocking tactics, but just simply driving very well indeed. And we're looking at lap 42 now of this 65 lap race.
Now watching at the moment Takashi Kogure in that green car, in the Takata car, one of the young guns in Japan now. It's still only 25 years old. He's not done much GT racing. It's his first season, but he was the 2002 Japanese Formula 3 champion, made the transition up, and Honda decided they wanted him. He's very much spotted by Toshio Suzuki, who has a program of bringing on young Japanese drivers. That's a name I think to look out for. Takashi Kogure, going to see a lot more of him. In comes, what was that, one of the VMAX?
I think it was one of the little VMAX cars, but I'm not sure exactly what it was.
So he's gone in the pits, and that was probably the third place car, wasn't it? Because the top three hadn't made their stops. Was that the VMAC?
Let me tell you in a second. Car number 61 I don't have. I've got 62. That certainly is a VMAC car, that's for sure.
61's the VMAC as well. It was the Taniguchi car. So it could be either. We couldn't quite see the number from there. Oh, look at this. Very, very tight. As Motoyama has to back off for a second as they go past one of the Ford GT there. The back mark was a Ford GT.
Yes, it is a Ford GT. It's not so much about marker. It is our front runner in the GT 300 category. But that's managed to put about a second and a half between second and third place between the two Honda NSXs.
Yep. Still this battle goes on them up front. Bits hanging off the front of Motoyama's car, I noticed there. There's quite a big bit flapping around. He's not getting a black and orange flag, is he, like Ralph Furman did?
Yeah, I was just thinking that actually, because if you have one set of rules, you have to have the same set of rules for everyone, and we just see there's a bit of the bodywork hanging off the front of that Nissan number 23 at the front there, just right on the front edge of the wheel arch, and I don't know, maybe it's on the it's not on the wrong side for the officials to see from the start line, because they're standing on the same side as that when it goes past on the car. So I don't know, maybe they will hand out a flag to say you need to fix that before it comes off and hits someone behind you, or maybe they're feeling that it's not that bad, it's something quite simple, and maybe they know how well it's tied on at the bottom and that it won't come off at all. It'll just sort of flap around for a little while. Not sure, but we'll have to watch with bated breath to find out if anything at all will happen to the lead car number 23.
Just to mention in passing, it's an all-Japanese crew on that car, but we will gloss over that. Anyway, great battle here as the Nissan continues to plunge down the hill. Interestingly, this car has not won a race this year. I mean, also interestingly, we have had different winners in every single race in GT 500 this year. So 7 rounds, 7 different winners. We're going to have an 8th different winner this afternoon. Again, it underlines, David, what you were saying about the competitiveness of this series, and just how well they get all the weight penalties sorted out and the performance breaks.
Yes, the officials work very well with the teams in order to make sure that the cars are very equally performance, both with chassis and engines, and then once they're up and running during the season, they then fine-tune that with the ballast weight that goes on. And we said earlier on that a couple of the guys, the rear brig car, they're carrying a lot. They're carrying 80 kilos of ballast, whereby the guy who's leading car number 23 is carrying only 10 kilos of ballast, and the guy who's in second, he's sort of in the middle really. He's got 30 kilos of ballast. So obviously the more ballast you're carrying, the more difficult it is for you to try and survive and keep the times and stay right towards the front of the championship and the points tables.
So 43 of 65 laps completed here at Autopolis. Nissan leading Honda and Nissan. Not a Lexus to be seen in the top 4. That's a big change this season, because Lexus have really been putting their stamp firmly on the championship, and it's the Lexus of Lotter and Wakisaka that led the title chase coming here this weekend, from Sebastian Philippe and Hosokawa with the Honda, and then in third place Tachikawa and Takagi in their Lexus, the number 1 car. Those last year's champions, of course. But is that all going to change by the end of today? One more race to go after this. A great view there looking down the hill, Dave. You can just see how spectacular this circuit is.
I was thinking, what a fantastic place to stand and watch a race meeting right on top there. And there are some circuits around the world whereby there is a high vantage point where you can be on top of the circuit looking very much down on quite a lot of the rest of it. You can see quite a few different areas because you have that high vantage point, and certainly when we've seen that shot there, that very much looked like one of those vantage points. You can stand on the top of there, you can see the cars coming towards you and disappearing away downhill for quite a distance onwards. But someone who's not disappearing at all is this car here in the lead, the car number 23. The Xanvi car, the Nissan 350Z, and he is still being hounded by these two Honda NSXs. The first one, the Takata car, and the second one, the Raybrig car, the blue and white one, there in third place.
Well, in comes the Calsonic car. We've seen this car in already. Trillia handing his car over to Hoshino early on. Now, what are they coming back in for?
Now, they were in fourth place overall, so
yep.
That's a bit of a disappointment for them, coming out of fourth place overall. Certainly going straight to the tyres to start with. Maybe he got a puncture, picked up a puncture or something. Now you see what happens when you're trying to pass the slower cars. Which side of the car do you go to? Do you go to the inside? Do you go to the outside? Now, it's always quite difficult to go round the outside, because if you go around the outside and he takes his racing line all the way to the outside, you could be pushed out. And very close there was the Takata car to losing his second place and handing it over to the Raybrig car. He just came out to that corner that little bit slower, and you see just one move trying to overtake one of the GT300 cars, and you lose a couple of seconds, and all of a sudden, you know, the lead car, number 23, has stretched himself away again from the two Honda NSXs that are in hot pursuit.
In comes our GT300 leader then, right on cue. This is Rocky Kato bringing that car in. He's going to hand it over to Kazuho Takahashi. And we'll see the team go to work on that car. Fuel goes in first this time. No, tyres as well. What are they doing there, David? They haven't got the fuel hose actually connected, have they? Guys, just waiting, just off, presumably. There he goes, goes on.
Once two tyres are done and the hands go up to say we're finished doing those tyres, then they'll start and put the fuel in. And as soon as the fuel's finished, the guys this side, we can see there he is, off now. And the minute he comes off, somebody will have shouted at the other mechanics that are doing the tyres, and they will do that. And as soon as that's finished, up goes their hand, there it goes. Somebody pulls the plug on the air jacks down, the car goes very quickly indeed. They've got a special thing on top of the air jacks to let them go down a bit quicker. They're called an exhauster, that lets air out very quickly. And once that happens, the car bounces onto the ground. As it does that, the driver's already got his hand on the button ready to start it. It's already in gear, so the minute it fires, he lifts the revs up a little bit, drops the clutch, and wheel spins himself away from that paddock area to be back out onto the circuit as quickly as possible. And that car's managed to come in and get back out still in the lead. It did come in very late for its pit stop compared to most of the other guys. It came in on just over lap 40 there.
Well, that is the second place car, in fact, and 30 seconds is the gap we can see there. So this car now being driven by Takahashi, Kazuho Takahashi. He actually owns the car. He commissioned this car to be built, and he's the owner-driver. He's taken on Hiroki Kato to do the driving with him, and it's obviously paying huge dividends this afternoon. What a great effort to be able to lead the race from pole position and then still stay out in front after their one and only pit stop. Never lost the lead.
No, he just had that big a lead, just over 1 minute 30 seconds lead when he came in, and that was sufficient for him to come in and get back out and stay there in front. But the little Mazda we're looking at now, number 7 car, it's been hanging in there. It's always been right up front. It's kept its nose clean, kept out of trouble this time, and he looks as though he's heading for a podium finish. But this is the person here, this car here, that really is stamping his authority in the GT300 category.
Well, we're going to take a break. Stay with us here from Autopolis. Be back in a moment. We're still bringing you Super GT from Autopolis in Japan, round 8 of 9. And here we are. This is the 5th and 6th place battle. The factory Nissan Motul Z of the 22 car now in the hands of Richard Lance. He took that car from Michael Krum, and right behind him the number 12 Calsonic car, which we saw making a very, very late pit stop. We thought it was the second stop, but it couldn't have been, David, because he wouldn't be running with him.
Well, he was running in 4th earlier on before he came in for that stop, and we thought that he'd been in previously for a first stop, so I don't know what's happened, but he certainly got himself back out and into 6th place. So Calsonic Z working very well, but the Nissan Zs, 350Zs and the Honda NSX is working extremely well. but unfortunately the Lexus cars this weekend really are struggling and going nowhere in a hurry.
It goes in cycles there. We saw at Twin Ring Matega, which is a Honda-owned circuit. We saw how Honda dominated that weekend. Here we are. Anyway, the number 46 car at the moment, that is which is the 46. We are.
And also one of the little VMAC cars, number 61. That's in the category. That car was right up there. It was lying in third place at one point in the GT 300 category. It looks as though it's simply had a bit of a breakdown on the side of the circuit. It doesn't look as though...
No, we've got some damaged cars here.
No, that's the car that was damaged on the first lap.
Oh yeah, that's right.
And they've got their little tracked vehicle. They're trying to drag it sideways rather than simply drag it forward. But no, there's a wheel broken. I reckon that the right-hand front wheel looks as though it's detached itself from the steering, and it's probably at the wrong angle. But that little tracked vehicle was definitely trying to pull that car sideways rather than pulling it forward. And cars very much do like to be pulled forwards and backwards rather than sideways. They really don't like it very much. But this car does like what he's doing. This is the Scheiden. It really has been on top of its form all day today for the GT 300 category. It set off from pole position. It's eased itself away, and I think that's very much a new concept for the GT 300 category in future. It's built as a racing car as opposed to the car in front, which is Lamborghini. All the rest of the cars in the GT 300 Championship very much based on a road-going car of some description or another. But they are some 27 seconds ahead now of the little RX-7, the number 7 Mazda in second place.
Yeah, it's interesting, even the VMAX, which you see, which are obviously fairly foreign to us, they are actually road cars. They're built in Romford in Essex by Chris Craft's son, and they're built to Japanese design. They're sent out there, and you do see them on the roads out there, but they have adapted beautifully into race cars. I suspect they're race cars that people use on the road, but they are nonetheless bona fide road-going GT cars.
They are. We see there a change of position because the number 12 Calsonic car has managed to get past the number 22 Motul. The Motul Autotech Nissan Z. So a change there for 5th and 6th place.
So Tsunabe Z still leading. This is the car of Satoshi Motoyama, 2 times Japanese GT champion, Super GT champion, and 4 times Formula Nippon champion. He took over the mantle of the fastest man in Japan from his mentor, who of course was Kazuyoshi Hoshino. Hoshino now runs the Calsonic team, the Calsonic Nissan, which Benoit Trullier and Kazuki Hoshino, his son, are sharing here today. And his mentor, Benoit Trullier, the Frenchman, as we said earlier, leading this year's Formula Nippon Championship. There's the top 6, puts everything a little bit clearer at 53 of 65 laps gone.
And you have to say that number 12 Calsonic Z, it really is the car that's on the move at the moment. It's caught and was leaving very much the Motul Z quite quickly, but it is still some 19 seconds behind the number 1 Zent car, and that's the first of the Lexus cars, so I'm not sure that the Calsonic car can make it all the way up there. And 11 laps left to go. That was on the board, lap 55 of 65, so 10 laps now remaining. I think it said 11 laps on the board as we looked down the straight there on the at the finish line. But we still have this constant battle here for first place. Now they've managed to lose the 3rd place car just a little bit, not a great deal. There it is in 3rd place, and in 4th place now we've got car number 1. That's the Zent Lexus up in 4th. In 5th place we've got that Calsonic car some 19 seconds further back, and in 6th place the number 22 Motul Nissan Z in 6th place. So that's the top 6 in the GT 500 category. But it's just amazing how close this race has been, because we've only got 10 laps of this race left of this 2 hours worth of racing, and 1st, 2nd and 3rd, you know, are all within a couple of seconds of each other. So, that really is very close indeed. They really have been on it all the time. And just see how difficult it is for the GT 500 category cars to get past the leader of the GT 300 category. And he's trying to make it a little bit easy. He did leave him a bit of space on the inside of the last corner, but he has his own race to think of. He has a 27-second lead, and that really is holding back. Unfortunately, the Honda, look at the lights, they're flashing all the time. Eventually he's getting past, and in doing so, right behind him now is the Raybrig NSX, just arrived up behind that, and then the Arthur car, which is a lap down in actual fact. So that really will be just looking after the back of the NSX, the other NSXs. It won't be trying to move forward and taking the places away from them. Being a lap down is not a very good idea to get really involved in the battle between second and third.
But interestingly, that Scheiden, the Privé Zurich Scheiden, that's giving away 200 horsepower, but to see how quick he was for all those S's at the bottom of the circuit. That car is such a good handling car, isn't it? They've really got that hooked up this weekend.
Yeah, when you start with a car that's a clean sheet of paper and you're building yourself a racing car, as opposed to taking a 350s Nissan Fairlady or some of the other cars, Porsches, Mazda RX-7s, Ford GTs, Lamborghinis, Ferraris that are in the GT300 category, and then just trying to turn them into race cars, then that's quite a big difference really. And I'm not sure just how the officials are going to take to that particular GT300 car, whether they're going to see it as the way to go in future, or whether it's something they think that might be destroying the GT300 category because it's too quick, in which case they may decide to slow it down, either for certainly for the last race of the season to have a bit more ballast on board, but maybe for next year they'll be thinking of another way of really slowing it up in a big way. But here we see the Zent car, that's in fourth place. That's the number one car, the first of the Toyota Lexus cars. And seventh place, the yellow hat car. That car, remember, was leading for quite a little while because it was... No, the yellow hat now is in 8th place in actual fact.
Yeah, he was the last of the GT500 to stop, wasn't he? Really stretched his fuel.
He was leading. Yeah. He was the sort of provisional leader until he came in for his pit stop. But to be up into 8th with car number 3, because they did start 14th on the grid with that car. So you have to say that's quite a good job for them. And number 36, the open interface car, starting 11th and up to 7th at the moment. The car that has sort of suffered in the latter part of this race is number 35. We lost that. It was up at one point in 6th place, but currently out of the top 8, and that was the Peter Drumbrek driven car, the number 35 Bandai Lexus that was out there.
Yeah, he's lost a lot of time, about 1 minute 40 back at the moment, doesn't he? Incidentally, thank you for the forum messages. Good one here from Dave Mark 7, or is it Dave Milton Keynes 7? Super GT to replace Formula 1. Let the campaign begin here, he says. Well, anyone who watched the Brazilian Grand Prix finale today will be aware this is far better racing we're bringing you here on Motors TV, so keep watching it. And Dave says, always looking forward to more Super GT. Thank you for that, Dave. Keep the messages coming in. And there's our GT 300 points at the moment. Interesting that Scheiden car will move into the championship lead, and as you've just made the point, they're not going to let him win in Fuji, are they? They're going to give him so much weight.
Everybody likes to have a chance at winning, and the organisers are very well aware of exactly what's happening and who's doing what in each cars, and just how much money is being spent in each of the teams. And this car number 7 here, the Mazda RX-7, 23 seconds behind the leader in the GT300 category, but it's a small car with a small budget, doing a very good job indeed. The team really are switched on this year, and they're right up there towards the front end of the championship. Third place, the Jim Center Ferrari, and you have to say that I think that the lead car at the moment, if it carries on to be just that much faster than everything else, will be pegged back for next year by the organisers. They'll put a restrictor on the inlet or something to try and slow it down, because it's certainly, building it as a race car just is that little bit further away than everybody else.
Yeah, it's the first time we've seen that Ferrari, I think, the whole of our programme tonight, isn't it? And that's on board that who are we? Tetsuya Tanaka. He handed that car over to Takayuki Aoki. Aoki's on board at the moment, and they, as we just saw, in third place. That's a really silent campaign by them, but they've moved up into third place. Can they hold it though? They've got the Ford GT, the Advan Ford GT of Mitsusada and Aikida closing down on them fast. Just a few laps to go.
And you can see that Ferrari's still had a fair bit of work done to it. They've done a bit of moulding to try and help it aerodynamically to get through, and a bigger rear wing on it to try and help the downforce. But this is a car, the car's in the lead first, second and third, covered by about 3 seconds there. First up is the number 23 Nissan Z, second the Honda NSX, third is the Honda NSX, the blue and white one in third place. But you can see there the flashing lights. That's the Takata Honda. Yes, that's the little car. Oh no, it's taking its racing line and keeping the Honda back again, trying from one side, trying to the other, hopefully accelerating now along this straight. He's finally started getting past there, but he's looking. You see now the Raybrig car coming up behind, so he's already started flashing his lights. And then just rearguard action behind that is the Arta car that we seen start at the very beginning, number 8 car, the Honda NSX, which is very much going quickly, but is a lap down. So we'll simply be following that lead battle, shall we say, first, second and third, and not getting involved in it. I get the impression that it's probably a little bit quicker, but being a lap down, as they don't really want to get involved and start ruining somebody else's race. So playing the team game there, and protecting the back of the NSXs from anybody else that's behind. But quite a way behind still is the number 1, which is the Lexus car, and that's the Zent car, Lexus that's there, but a long way back.
So Satoshi Motoyama on his way, what looks like being his first win this year. Certainly, you have to go back a long way. Sepang 2005, the last GT win that Motoyama had. He and Richard Lanz were on board the car together there, so this is going to end quite a long drought since April 2005, and finally Nissan getting its act together here today, only with the second win of the season. If he can pull it off for Nissan, that's also sounds strange.
But as you said, Mark, you know, you've had 7 races and 7 different winners this year. Now that is a very close championship. We've come into this championship today with 8 teams having a possibility of winning this championship, and I'm pretty sure if we don't have 8, it won't be far, or 10 I should say, if we don't have 8 or 10 teams with a chance to win the championship at the end of this meeting, I will be very surprised indeed. And as they carry on around this circuit, you see the lights continuing to flash, second and third, nose to tail, trying to get past that Ford GT of the GT300 category. And the guys are just taking their own racing line, but that is the rule in endurance racing. If you've got a slower car, if you take your racing line, then it's up to the other guys to find their way past. And that Ford GT is pushing really hard. You see them there locking a wheel into that right-hand corner. He's going as hard as he can. Yes, he's seen the cars, he's giving a bit of space to them now to let them go through the inside of there. But if you've got your own race and you're racing for a podium position as that Ford GT is, then you know he wants to be pushing as hard as possible and not simply always moving over, slowing down, going around the outside, getting dirt on his tyres on the wrong lines of the corners. He will stick to his racing line. It's up to these guys here. This is the third guy we're looking at, and behind the Arta NSX is one that's a lap down, and we think he's in something like 11th overall, 1 lap down on the leaders. But he very much is protecting the back of and trying very hard to stay with, and succeeding, I'm sure.
David, that's the reason the Ford GT is pushing so hard. That Ferrari there in the picture is the third place car, and the Ford is catching him fast, really fast now. So this could be a photo finish for those two. I wonder what's going to happen there. We've got the Scheiden leading the Mazda 1-2 in GT300, then the Jim Gaynor Ferrari, and then the Ford GT. But the Ford GT closing at a rate of about 1.5 a lap at the moment. And look at this gaggle of cars coming down the start-finish straight. 5 to go, and this is still our lead battle. It's been like this since the start of the race.
It has. It's right. Oh, what's happened here? That's the Ferrari. The Ferrari's come into the pits. What are they going to do? Push it back, push it back. The guy with the fuel hose looks as though he wants to get it on. That is a good 10 seconds wasted while they make a decision what they're going to do. All it is fuel. That's all they've done. They put fuel in it. Yeah, there it goes. Give it a tap on the roof. Send it back out. That Ferrari has used too much fuel. Either that or they came in far too early and weren't able to get enough fuel into it to do the second half of their race. But whatever happened, they've suddenly gone now from third in the GT300 category, and they lost so much time when they came into pits. They were ready for it because they had the fuel hose ready to go into it. Nope, there's a problem. There is another problem. I'm not sure what it is. The Ferrari hasn't made it back out onto the circuit. It's gone down. It's stopped at the bottom. So obviously they've come in with a problem, thinking it's fuel. The driver's obviously been on the radio, asked for fuel. They've put the fuel in for the driver. He's set off to try and come back out down the pit lane. He's got so far down the pit lane, think, no, it's still not right. There's a problem with this car still. He's pulled in at the end of the pit lane, and what a disaster for the number 11 car there, the Jim Center Ferrari. And
yeah, it looks like it's over, doesn't it?
They've lost a podium position, so that podium position's gone. So that number 55 car we were watching earlier, the Ford GT, moved up into a podium position now. And I'm not sure who else is behind that car or if anybody else is very close to it at all.
No, you've got the one of the Boxsters, but they're both a lap down basically. The Boxster, there was a lap between the Ferrari and it stopped there. Oh, and in comes the Mobil 1 SC car, the Lexus. They got a problem. Tyre change there. Obviously picked up a puncture somewhere.
And I would think that that's what happened, because I can't see you coming in with 6 laps to go just to change tyres. Even if you've lost a lot of your grip, you know, you're better off to stay out there and lose maybe a couple of seconds a lap rather than come in and lose over a minute, because you know, if you're only losing a couple of seconds, you've got 6 laps to go, you know, that's 12 seconds. If you come into the pits and lose a minute, then yeah, that's a bit of a disaster area. So they've obviously got a problem. But here is this battle. 2 hours nearly this battle has been raging for first place. We've got the Nissan in first, hanging on to it by the skin of his teeth. Second place is the Takata Honda NSX, and third place the Raybrig Honda NSX. Look at that, 1.3 seconds between first and third. Fourth place the Zen Toyota. Next up is the Calsonic car. We did say that was going very quickly indeed, and we believe that he is catching. It was earlier on, we said 19 seconds behind the number 1 Zent car, but it certainly is catching it. Whether they can catch it enough to be able to try and get past it or not, we're not too sure. So not only do we have a battle for first, second and third, we may have, before we're finished, a battle for fourth and fifth as well, coming up very close before the end of the race.
So it's never dull here in Super GT racing, as we're seeing again here this afternoon at Autopolis. We've got Nissan, Honda and Honda, then Nissan, top 4, and Lexus not getting a look in at the moment, but see what...
Not Lexus is in fourth place.
Sorry, yes, fourth.
With the number 1 Zent car.
Calsonic car behind it.
But the Calsonic car catching it at a pace, and number 22 following up immediately after that, and that's another Nissan Z. So these guys here trying their hardest. They've done nothing wrong, they haven't put a foot wrong, they really have been pushing hard to try and get this lead car to make a mistake of any description at all, and in which case they would soon take that lead away from him. But the guys have driven a superb race, they've made no mistakes, they've been able to get themselves threaded through the many cars they've had to overtake during this 2-hour race, because of the different speeds of the cars, the GT300 cars. They've had to lap them quite often, and I'm just trying to work out how many laps altogether behind. I think it's only 2 laps behind at the end. The lead GT300 cars are over and above the GT500 cars, but these guys still pushing. Look at that, how close that is.
Yeah, we're just Motoyama just done his fastest lap of the race. It is the fastest lap of the race, a 1:43.3, so it shows the pressure's really on in these closing laps now.
This is a change. What, the Raybrig car is now right behind the Nissan. Why did that happen? We didn't see when the change came around. All of a sudden the Takata car has dropped himself back, and the Raybrig car has come up and is really pushing now this Nissan Nismo car, Nissan Z350Z that's in front, and just look how close he is. I'm not sure where he came from. He really wasn't right there. He was quite happy in third, a couple of seconds behind, and was just happy there. And all of a sudden now, with just 2 laps to go, he really is stuck. Maybe he's pushing too hard, I don't know, maybe he's right on the limit, but he is desperately trying to take this lead away with only 2 laps to go. And there in the background you can see the Takata car just hanging on to third place. Behind it was the Arta car, which was looking after what was behind it, but Takata car must have a problem.
No, Arta car's gone past them. Yeah,
it's dropped back behind the Arta NSX, the orange car.
That's his own teammate.
Ralph Furman started, but that car had just been simply falling on behind, looking after the back of it. But maybe like one of the cars that came in earlier on, maybe it's short of fuel. Maybe they really have pushed the fuel limit right to the very edge, and the Raybrig car maybe just been that little bit more fuel efficient, so it's the one that's allowing himself to go. Here come the other 2 Honda NSXs. One of them's a lap down and the other one's still in third place, and that was just such a change around, and we just didn't see where the change came.
I think the director missed that. These things happen, don't they? But at the moment we're looking at Satoshi Motoyama now leading Shinya Hosokawa in that Raybrig car. And we are hearing, David, from the pits that they're going to get a 30-second penalty on this blue and silver Raybrig car for that pit work violation. Now, why they didn't take it as a drive-through, as you said earlier, that's the normal thing to do, but that's going to be right. 30 seconds added to their race time at the end.
But we did know that there are 1 lap still to go, so they're coming on now to the last lap. Now, we did know that we were told earlier in the race that they had a penalty to be applied because of what had gone on in the pit lane. They had something wrong with the number of people working on the car. We could only presume that it was too many people working on the car. They didn't say what it actually was, they just said what the rule was. The rule says pit lane infringement, so we can only assume that there are too many people working on the car. But why they didn't impose some sort of a penalty before now, whether it be a drive-through penalty or whatever, that to me would have been very much, let's get it over and done with now, so you know where you are on the circuit, you know how to push, what to do, and how to cope with it. But to get all the way to the finish and then suddenly be told right towards the very end of the race that suddenly you've got to get a 30-second penalty, how demoralising is that for the team standing on the pit wall? But he's not going to be able to get past this car and pull out 30 seconds in half a lap in order to try and to win the car. But I'm not sure how far back the other people are.
I think 53 seconds was what I saw the gap earlier on, so with a bit of luck.
So maybe he may even be able to hang on to his to a podium position.
Yep.
But the green Takata car has obviously got a problem of some sort, having dropped back. I think maybe he's had to just back off a little bit, save some fuel to make sure he gets the car to the finish rather than keep pushing, trying to get past this Nissan. And I'll tell you what, this Raybrig car is doing everything he can think of. He just was quite happy in third a couple of laps ago, and then all of a sudden now, it's like he's got a new lease of life, that somebody suddenly plugged a battery in and switched it on, and he's just taken off. He really is all over the back. And can he make it? No. It's right behind. He's managed to finish second, right behind the Nissan. So a fantastic win there for car number 23 for the Nissan 350Z there, the Nismo car. And 2 very happy gents inside that car indeed.
0.22 seconds was the winning margin, but that Raybrig car is going to get a 30-second penalty. So that'll put him back, we believe, to third. We'll know in a moment as they cross the line. The Takata Dome NSX of Michigami and Kogure will move up into second, the Raybrig car third, and the Calsonic Impulse Z. We didn't see this either. Benoit Trullier and Kazuki Hoshino, they passed that Tsuruma at the end. There is the GT300 car. It's only halfway around the lap, so still got a moment to talk about that car. But what a good job by Toru Takagi, and the man who commissioned and owns the car, that beautiful Shiden, Kazuho Takahashi.
Yeah, that car really does look like a proper racing car. It looks like a car that belongs in the Le Mans 24 Hours. And but there we are. You see, he's finishing some 13 seconds ahead of the little Mazda RX-7, and we know he had a massive lead beforehand. And we think that basically he's eased off and cruised around for the latter part of the race so that he doesn't have such a big lead, because the bigger lead you have, I'm sure the bigger penalty you will have for the following year. And maybe the team has thought about that and thinking, well, let's not make it look too easy for ourselves, otherwise we will get a bigger penalty. So maybe a little bit of sandbagging going on towards the end of that race. Still very, very comfortable winner, and an excellent winner there for the Scheiden car.
That's something of an historic moment. What I'd like to see now at Fuji is to see that Ford GT win. Here's the second place car, and in third indeed is the Ford GT, but the Ford GT a lap down on the Scheiden and this little yellow Mazda, the car that we've admired so much this year. Of course, this car finishing second today has won this year, remember. That car won at Sepang, so another good result, and this is going to make the championship very tight at the top in both of them, David. And we're just looking at the moment, 8 teams still in with the possibility of the drivers' title for the final round of the season. But Philippe and Hosokawa first with 79 points. Mishigami and Kogura, after great drive there, they dropped to second in the points. And they're equal with Lotterer and Wakisaka, so everything to go for. And likewise, 3 different teams can win GT300. David, great race.
A fantastic race. How close can it possibly be? You've seen that Nissan 0.2 of a second behind. Fantastic. Join us again at the next race for Super GT.